All right, let's dive into manifestation. But forget all the hype you've seen, the vision boards and the vague, positive thinking stuff for a minute. Behind all that, there's a real recurring mechanism that we can actually look at. In this explainer, we're going to strip away the mystical side of things and get right to the core of what actually works and, more importantly, why it works.
So have you ever been there? You've tried the affirmations, you've really tried to just be more positive, but nothing. The big changes you're looking for just don't seem to show up. It's super frustrating, right? And it can make this whole concept feel like a total scam.
And look, if you feel that way, you are definitely not alone. This kind of skepticism is totally normal because, let's be honest, on the surface, it just doesn't sound logical. Why would just thinking about something magically change your reality? Well, you're right to be skeptical. It doesn't work like that. The real answer, the real secret here, has nothing to do with bending the universe to your will or sending out vibrations. Nope. The change actually happens inside your own brain. It's a real, physical, biological process that we can finally understand, and this is the best part, we can actually learn to direct.
So how do we bridge the gap between these older kind of mystical ideas and what we know from modern science today? Well, we're going to look at a core principle that's been taught for over a century by thinkers from Neville Goddard all the way to Maxwell Maltz, and we're going to see how neuroscience is now finally explaining why it's so darn effective.
This right here is a really key idea from a teacher named Neville Goddard. Now listen closely to the words he uses, assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. See, it's not about wanting something, it's about the feeling. It's about embodying a state of being. He was basically saying that if you can truly feel what it's like to already have your desire, your outer world has no choice but to catch up. And this is the absolute crucial point. We are not talking about magic here. We're talking about a very grounded psychological process. The assumption that Goddard talks about, that's the cause, and the change in your life, that's the effect. So, what's the scientific bridge that connects those two things? And here it is, neuroplasticity. This is the whole game. Your brain isn't some fixed, static thing. It's more like clay. It is constantly rewiring itself based on your thoughts, your feelings, your focus. Every single time you repeat a thought or an emotion, you are physically strengthening the neural pathways for it. You are literally, and I mean literally, building a new mind. And boom, this quote just perfectly connects that old wisdom with modern science. The power isn't somewhere out there. It's in here. It's internal. You're not trying to change the world first. You are changing the brain that perceives, interprets, and then interacts with that world. Let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a new car or even just thought about a specific model, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere? Those cars were always there, right? Your brain just started flagging them as important? Well, that's your reticular activating system, or your RAS, at work. It's your brain's bouncer. By repeatedly focusing on a goal or a desired state, you're basically telling your RAS, hey, this is important now. Start showing me everything related to this. Okay, so if we're essentially programming our brain, what's the best operating system to use? This brings us to the core mechanism, the thing that really separates this grounded approach from all those passive methods you might have heard about before. So most people know about the law of attraction. It often feels like you're standing on the outside, trying to pull things towards you. The law of assumption, though, is a total paradigm shift. It's an active, internal process. You don't ask, you don't wish, you simply decide who you are now, and you start thinking, feeling, and acting from that new identity. The outside world then has to reorganize itself to match who you've become on the inside. Now this is the engine behind the whole thing, your self-concept. Just think of it like your personal default setting. It's that collection of deep, often unconscious beliefs you hold about yourself. You can visualize being a millionaire all day long, but if your deep down core self-concept is, I'm someone who's always broke, guess what? Your brain will always default back to that program. This example just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The deep-seated identity, that core assumption you have about yourself, it will always override a temporary visualization. So the real work isn't just about imagining a goal for a few minutes. It's about fundamentally changing the story you tell yourself about who you are 24/7. Okay, so that's all the theory. But how do we actually do this stuff? Enough talk, let's get practical. Here is a 7-day experiment that you can start tonight to begin rewiring your own neural pathways. Now look, this is a systematic process. It's not just a random to-do list. Each step builds on the last. You start by clearly defining your target identity.
Then you start acting from it in small ways, which immediately begins the rewiring process. Next, you use a super powerful technique called SATs to impress this new identity deep into your subconscious. From there, you clean up old programming by mentally revising the past. You police your own inner conversations. And finally, you truly embody this new you, and then you let go. You trust the process you've already set in motion. Honestly, SATs is probably the most powerful tool in this entire toolkit. Think about that moment right as you're drifting off to sleep. Your brain waves are changing, and that analytical, critical part of your mind, the one that's always saying, yeah, right, that's not true, it goes quiet. This makes your mind incredibly open to suggestion. So by imagining a short, simple scene that implies your wish is already fulfilled, you're basically planting a seed directly into the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. It's like a shortcut for that neuroplasticity we were talking about.
So what really happens when you commit to doing this inner work? Well, you're not just changing your mind, you're actively creating the conditions for your external world to change too.
And this is where it gets really fun. I mean, the sources are just packed with these stories. One guy didn't save up for a ticket to Barbados. He simply felt himself there and bam, an opportunity for a free ticket just appeared. A woman didn't network or hustle for a promotion. She just assumed the identity and feeling of already being promoted, and the offer came to her. These aren't magic tricks. They are the natural result of a mind that has been reprogrammed to see and act on opportunities that perfectly align with its new core identity. And that's the real takeaway here. This is an active discipline. It's about taking complete ownership of your inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions. It's about becoming so internally driven that you create the reality you want from the inside out, instead of just reacting to whatever the outside world throws at you. So, that leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question to think about. Everything in your life, right now, is the physical result of your past assumptions, whether you were conscious of them or not. If you want to build a new reality, you have to start by consciously choosing a new assumption to live from, starting today. So, what's yours going to be?